All right, here with reaction is South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, how are you?
Thank you, Sean.
Okay.
Thank you.
What I saw today with some Hamas militants, they were trying to assassinate. They did assassinate a number of people, shot them in the back of the head. They don't want peace.
No. So two things. You mentioned people who didn't congratulate Trump. They're a very small part of the planet. Most people on the planet realizes that President Trump, through his will and the determination of the IDF to fight Hamas, those two things came together, and these 20 people are alive today and free today because of the will of Donald Trump and the bravery of the IDF. I'm going to take the 20-point plan for peace in the Mideast that I think is historic, and I'm going to bring it to the floor of the United States Senate. And I'm going to ask every senator to vote to support this plan. It would be so good for the world to see 100 senators supporting President Trump's roadmap for peace in the Mideast. It would make this plan more likely to happen. It would bring us together. So I will be introducing very soon a vote in support of President Trump's 20-point plan. And to my Democratic colleagues, lay down your dislike of Trump and let's vote for peace.
I hope so. Do you believe, and you have made at least 30 trips that I know of to that region of the world.
A lot.
For the sake of, threading the needle and making peace. What about the Arab countries that were there with the president?
So the president, through his will and determination, has gotten the Arabs and the Israelis to trust him. And if there were no Donald Trump, these people would still be in bondage. Erdogan and Bibi are oil and water, but he got them working together for the common good. Only Trump could have done that. But a word of caution. There's a bloodletting going on as I speak. The people in Gaza who sided with Israel are being slaughtered by Hamas. There is no stabilizing force. To the Arab world, it's not enough to work with Trump. You need to put troops on the ground tomorrow to stop the bloodletting. If this stabilizing force doesn't come soon, Hamas will slaughter all those who work with Israel and could change the face of Gaza. Israel cannot afford, Sean, to sit on the sidelines and watch people who stood up to help them be slaughtered by Hamas. As I speak tonight, there are discussions in Israel about potentially going back in to save those tribes and clans that had the guts to stand up against Hamas.
Wouldn't it be better if this coalition of Arab countries, that
Much better,
if they would send in troops to protect the region?
Just remember what you said. If the Arab world would be the force to take Hamas down, it would change the region far more than if Israel did it. To our Arab allies, you need to get in on the ground now and stop this bloodletting. Because if you don't, Israel is not going to sit back and watch the people who helped Israel through this conflict be slaughtered. They went in Syria, they'll go back into Gaza if they have to.
Okay, but if the extremists then go back to their old ways and start attacking Israel, the word that President Trump used was, "We will obliterate you."
The most likely scenario for Israel to go back is to defend those who stood up for Israel against slaughter by Hamas. If you want to prevent that, the Arabs need to come up with this force, get onto the ground so Israel doesn't have to do it. One way or the other, these people are going to be protected. The thing that makes you strong in the Mideast is when you're reliable. And the one thing I love about our friends in Israel, if you're a friend to Israel, they're a friend to you. And they're not going to abandon these people to be slaughtered by Hamas. If Israel has to go back into Gaza to save these people, they will. To the Arab world, don't make them do that.
All right, this is their window of opportunity.
Their window.
They've been on the sidelines for decades. Now they're in the process. Now do your job.
Do your job.
All right, Senator, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
He was assassinated in the prime of his life for boldly speaking the truth, for living his faith and relentlessly fighting for a better and stronger America. He loved this country. And that's why this afternoon it's my privilege to posthumously award Charles James Kirk, our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you.
Hey, it's Congressman Robert Garcia, and we're here in Washington, D.C. We're in the middle of a shutdown, and Republicans are nowhere to be found. They've been on vacation for over 2 weeks as healthcare costs are about to skyrocket across the country. We know that premiums are about to go up through the Affordable Care Act because Republicans would rather give massive tax breaks to billionaires and large corporations in this country. And so we're saying enough. We need healthcare costs to go down. Trump promised that costs would go down on groceries, on housing. He's lied on all those counts. And now healthcare is about to go up, and we're saying no more tax breaks for these billionaires. And at the same time, the shutdown needs to end so that our Epstein investigation can continue. We need the Epstein files. Mike Johnson needs to do his job, get Congress back into session, seat Alisa Grijalva. Let's get the files. Let's stop the shutdown. Thanks so much.
What is he afraid of? Epstein. What is he afraid of? Trump. Epstein. What? Swear her in. 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 Swear her in.
And also, I am a woman of color from Arizona, and 700,000 people deserve to have their voice heard. And I am so grateful for this caucus and the mujeres that have joined me here today, because let's just be really clear. If I were a Republican, I would have already been sworn in.
Right.
And that is not acceptable. They're afraid of me signing and being the 218 signers. 218. Speaker Johnson, you have to do your job so I can do mine. Let me get to work.
This is another betrayal of Republicans on the American people. Arizonans need representation. The American people need to understand what is in the Epstein files. We need to get back to work. And Republicans, including Speaker Johnson, isn't even here right now to do their job. But Democrats are. We're standing up for democracy. We're standing up for Arizonans. We're standing up for the American people.
There's something really fishy going on around here. We need to get back to work. Tomorrow will be day 14 of a government shutdown, 2 weeks of the government shutdown, and this didn't have to happen. Speaker Johnson should have had us work the month of August, should have worked harder with the Senate to get the spending bills, the appropriations bills done by October 1st, but he didn't do that. And now he won't bring us back to make sure that people's health insurance costs don't go through the roof. I talked to several people in Minnesota just this week, and they're scared that they aren't going to be able to afford their health insurance. And they have the right to be. And this week, I'm talking to some more federal employees, and they're really nervous about the shutdown and what it means for them and their families income. But they did something that was half right. The White House knew that there were discussions up here in the House and the Senate about what do we do about paying our troops. The discussion should have been not only paying our troops, but all federal employees, but paying our troops was a big key topic around here. And the White House and the Speaker figured out an illegal way around that to pay our troops. They transferred money illegally from one account in the Department of Defense to pay the troops. Now, paying the troops is great, but you know what? Speaker Johnson could have brought us back here, and it would have sailed through, and it would have been passed and signed into law, and the money would have been transferred legally. But why didn't he do that? Because if he brought all of us back to vote on something on the floor, the Speaker would have been forced into swearing in Representative-elect Grijalva from Arizona. And she's made it really clear. Once she's sworn in, she's going to be the 218th signature on a discharge petition that would bring the Epstein files forward. No more monkeying around, no more committee hearings, no more whatever. Bring the files forward. So I'm beginning to think the protection for the Epstein files is more important than making sure our troops get paid legally, that we open up the federal government and all our federal employees come back to work. There's something really fishy going on around here. We need to get back to work.
He was assassinated in the prime of his life for boldly speaking the truth, for living his faith and relentlessly fighting for a better and stronger America. He loved this country. And that's why this afternoon it's my privilege to posthumously award Charles James Kirk, our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. everyone. So it's Tuesday afternoon, and as you can tell, I'm not in Hawaii anymore. I came back to Washington, D.C. with my fellow Democratic colleagues because unlike the House Republicans that have decided to stay on vacation, stay away from D.C., not actually come back to the negotiating table, we're back here to get work done for the people because we have to quickly reopen government and save healthcare for millions of Americans. We can absolutely do both. But you know, one of the questions I always get as I'm going through TSA, checking in my bag is, what are you bringing to DC with you? And so I thought I'd share this week. As you can see, it's a particularly large haul that I brought back with me and a little unique. So for starters, and I hope I can bring this out in some easy way, thank you to Grandma Cat for making literally 20 beautiful purple ribbon lace. Tomorrow the Democratic Women's Caucus is going to come together. This is about remembering survivors, victims of domestic violence, raising awareness, talking about the need for action. And purple, as you know, is the color. And so we made some lace so that the women of the caucus could proudly wear this and talk about how we are fighters, making sure that no one stands alone. No one has to suffer from domestic violence and intimate partner violence anymore. So that's a big part of my bag this time. And okay, you know I love my food. Literally, it's everywhere. And so my friend Joy, actually, who, by the way, I've bought her pillows and they have been in my office here from the very beginning. People grab it as soon as they come in to meet with me. Well, she made sure that I literally have the entire set of sushi here in our office so that we can have a little bit of home right here in Washington, D.C. to make folks feel welcome. So now, in addition to the Spam musubi, we've got the maki sushi, which I think is pretty awesome. So thank you so much, Joy, for helping us spread aloha and probably make a lot of people hungry when they walk into my office. Just a lot of homework and other small omiyakes for friends. But again, back here in DC, because Democrats are serious about reopening government and protecting life-saving healthcare in Hawaii and throughout the country. Stay tuned for more as we're going to be very busy these next few days. Mahalo, everyone.
I'm outside the USD office in Indianola, Iowa, and as you can tell, on day 14 of the Schumer shutdown, the USDA office remains closed. At a time when farmers are undergoing stress and the ag economy is stressed, the USDA office is not open to help farmers or help those in agriculture. I withheld my pay in solidarity with veterans and others who are not being paid but are still working during the shutdown. Why don't you ask the Democrats who voted not to open the government whether or not they withheld their pay? It is time to end this shutdown and allow America to get back to work.
Escalating tensions this weekend between the Trump administration and officials in Chicago. We were there as hundreds of Texas National Guard troops first arrived at an Army Reserve training center about an hour outside of Chicago.
This as military members and federal workers will soon go without their first paycheck as the government shutdown sees no end in sight. Republicans and Democrats continuing this weekend to point the finger at each other. With that, let's bring in Republican Congressman Scott Fitzgerald, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Good to be with you.
So let's start right there with Chicago. Are you comfortable with what we're seeing play out there in Chicago? Hundreds of troops now mobilized in the city, or near the city?
Yeah, you know, I wish that Governor Pritzker and that the mayor would be a little more accommodating than they have been so far. I will say, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised how quickly we saw a turnaround in D.C., and I would expect that where the mayor there embraced the idea eventually to, and part of that was the feedback they were getting from local law enforcement saying the Guard's presence has made a huge difference in D.C., and hopefully we'll see the same thing in Chicago soon. So it's not a very over-the-top type of presence. When you see these guardsmen walking around in D.C., oftentimes it's with law enforcement, and it just brings kind of a calmness that I don't think we've seen in D.C. for years. Hopefully the same thing happens in Chicago.
Are you okay with the president? Would you be okay with the president invoking the Insurrection Act?
No, I don't. You know, you got 90-day deployments with some of these guardsmen. They still have civilian jobs. I would assume that eventually they'll set up a rotation. I myself, being a member of both the Guard and Reserve for many years, it was kind of common practice to have these rotations. Sometimes members could volunteer for that type of service for a period of time. So I don't think it's going to escalate to that level, not as we sit here today.
Let's get to the shutdown. And first, the military pay. There's been talk about a standalone bill to help pay military members. Is that something that you would back or support?
I certainly would back it. I don't know that that's going to happen yet. We're not sure. Kind of Speaker Johnson has been alluding to maybe getting the entire conference together over this weekend to have discussions about what the next move would be as we kind of watch this move into its second week. But certainly I think that's a big concern. What I really hope happens is that the Democrats kind of come to their senses on this front. I mean, the CR, it's such a layup at this point. Let's get to November 21st. If you want to have a discussion about health care, let's have that discussion. It's a massive, complex issue that touches all Americans. And if they think we're going to be able to sit at a table and negotiate something related to health care under the duress of a government shutdown, they're just out of their minds. It's just not going to happen.
To that healthcare debate, Congressman, is there a scenario where you would vote to extend the subsidies for Obamacare as part of a package to open the government? If
they want to peel back Obamacare and have a full discussion about changes and the way it could be reformed, I'm all ears. It's something that I think has been frustrating for many of us who have watched that discussion, and I wasn't necessarily part of that. But, we can talk about Medicaid, Medicare, we can talk about all of it if you want. But in the meantime, the idea that there's going to be government employees that are not going to be paid this week and the troops, as you referred to earlier, it's just outrageous that they think this is the best path forward.
There's been a lot of attention on back pay for federal workers. The president seemed to indicate that may not happen. Do you want that to happen, back pay for federal workers?
Yeah, I think if you're a furloughed employee, absolutely. There's kind of different setups for who's in working full-time and who isn't. But, yeah, I mean, all that's going to have to be addressed at the end. I think it's something that Congress has agreed on for many years. So, we'll wait. If this thing drags into November, though, good God, I just can't imagine that, we aren't going to be doing something to address some of these specific issues related to the shutdown.
Representative Scott Fitzgerald, always great to have you. A member of the House Judiciary Committee, always great to have your insight. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good to be with you.
Hey, folks, I'm back in Washington this week, and I think that Congress should be working right now, not waiting at home to end the shutdown. Across the country, federal workers are wondering when they're going to see their next paycheck. Millions of Americans are worried about their health care premiums going up. And Congress, a lot of my Republican colleagues are sitting at home right now. The country is waiting, but, I'm here. I'm ready to do whatever I can do to try to find common ground, to try to get the government open again, and to try to save health care for millions of people. The folks who elect us to these jobs deserve nothing less than for us actually to show up. And one other thing is that it's now been 3 weeks since Adelita Grijalva was elected by the people of Arizona's 7th District. She still hasn't been sworn in. And as a result, we haven't been able to have the signatures on the discharge petition for the Epstein files. It's all a disgrace. At a time when the health care of millions of Americans is on the line, at a time when we need to come together to fund the government to make sure that our federal workforce is paid, Republicans are on vacation. We're here. We're ready to negotiate with anybody that's willing, ready, and able to negotiate in good faith with us.
Hi, everyone. I'm just leaving the Capitol here. My Republican colleagues are still nowhere to be found. And I say that with a heavy heart because we have got a path to reopen the government, to protect your health care, to lower your costs. But Speaker Johnson, who is here, is refusing to open the House, and he's refusing to swear in our newest colleague here in the House, who was elected by the people of Arizona's 7th District. She's a wonderful woman, Adelita Grijalva. Unfortunately, the cynical reasons for not swearing her in seem to have to do with a real commitment to not releasing the Epstein files, which, as I've said before, this is a matter of basic justice and transparency for victims of crime. So I'm here, and I'm not going to quit in our effort to deliver for New Hampshire. That's what I came here to do, and I'm not giving up.
And unfortunately, Leader Schumer on the Senate side has chosen to use this as a leverage point to try to achieve Democratic policy objectives. I would argue liberal, progressive, radical, even policy objectives, and I can dig deeper into that. I mean, for example, providing Medicaid coverage for illegal aliens at the expense of American citizens.
Now,
is
Democrats
part of
disagree with that. I mean, they say it's barred. Illegal immigrants are barred from getting any sort of health care coverage. They say what they're talking about is not providing health care to illegal immigrants. So how do you justify that comment?
Sure. So what we know is that prior to the passage of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, the One Big Beautiful Bill, prior to that passage, illegals were receiving Medicaid benefits. Despite the fact that technically it's illegal, there was no provision in the law to screen that and to essentially enforce that provision. So the Working Families Tax Cuts Bill actually provided the government with the capacity to clean the rolls out of those illegals that were receiving.
But Democrats don't want to put them back on.
They do. And in fact, on page 57, section 2141 of the Democrats' CR, they repeal the provisions of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act that provided the government with the opportunity to clean those people off the rolls.
We went to Brighton Park today, which is an important area near the city of Chicago and a large Hispanic population. You wouldn't believe the fear that these people are living under, that one of them will go to a grocery store and get arrested and the whole family get deported. It sounds like a crazy idea. It's happening. And things are happening because of this ICE infiltration of the city that are just unimaginable, inconsistent with American values. I went around there trying to tell people, keep your courage up. We're going to fight back, but I know that this president is determined to punish the governor of Illinois and the mayor of the city of Chicago at the expense of the people who live here.
Congressman, House Republicans have been on the phone today talking strategy. What is the message your leadership is conveying to the members of the House?
Yeah, it was a great call. I really commend Speaker Johnson for shepherding us through this. This is a remarkable moment where Republicans are finally standing up and not caving in. And so what I'm really pleased with some of the things that were kind of discussed in that call, one being that the Democrats' demand of us undoing a lot of the things that were done in the One Big Beautiful Bill are not feasibly possible. You know, as you know, Matt, this is a discretionary spending package. It's not mandatory. And so a lot of the things they're asking for are done under mandatory spending. This is the wholly improper place to have these kind of discussions. And so I think that with that in mind and letting the American people know that, look, these guys have voted on this multiple times before. This is the most clean continuing resolution you possibly can get. And I think that their position is untenable.
Pretty much the whole summer, MAGA Republicans were on vacation because they wanted to leave to avoid talking about the release of the Epstein files. And now they're not working during a government shutdown while American people are suffering. Hawaii Senator Brian Schatz, I think, outlined the absurdity and the offensiveness of what MAGA Republicans have been doing with all of their vacations and just not working while they're destroying American lives. He did it on the Senate floor. Let's watch it.
So here's what happened. They left early on the 25th, specifically to avoid a vote on the Epstein files. Then they had this week off, 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 this day off, come back. 1, 2, 3, long weekend. 1, 2, 3, 4, long weekend. 1, 2, 3, 4, long weekend. Another break, another break, and now they're saying another break. Get back to work. Get back to work.
But let me fact check it a little bit. While they're on vacation, they are working. Let me be clear. For Argentina. You see, Argentina just got $20 billion so that their MAGA puppet Javier Milei can throw these concerts for himself with pyrotechnics while they literally burn away the money that America is giving them. And Senator Schatz was on the Senate floor and he outlined this perfectly. Watch.
So just to recap, Trump is at the exact same time incinerating $70 billion of taxpayer money. But what's the one thing that there's not enough money for? You. There's not enough money for you. There's enough money for a $50 billion tariff bailout. There's enough money for Argentina, but there's not enough money for you. They don't have enough money to help a family of four that's going to have to pay $300 more per month to keep their health care plan. They have the money to cover for Trump's economic incompetence, but apparently they don't have the money to prevent a small business owner or a taxi driver or an early retiree from losing their health care. This is not complicated at all. Donald Trump's economy is already hard as it is because of his choices to create shortages of electricity, of lumber, of food, of healthcare. Electricity prices are going up at twice the rate of inflation. Vegetables are up nearly 40%. Grocery prices are at their highest in 3 years. And now people are supposed to find hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to spare every single month or give up their healthcare coverage and hope they don't get sick.
The way to end this shutdown is really simple. Pass the bipartisan clean funding bill that the House approved weeks ago. The Republicans voted to keep the government open. Call your Democratic senators. They're voting to keep it shut, not us. So when you ask what negotiation, there's nothing to negotiate. We already passed. We said yes, right? Democrats won't do it. They'd rather please their radical base than put America first. Listen, I'm grateful.
Natalie Fahmy has reaction from local Congressman Adam Smith this morning.
Congressman Adam Smith has been calling for a ceasefire deal for months now. He says while these new developments are good, it doesn't mean the end quite yet.
The hostages are back. The hostages are back.
2 years of war in the Middle East could be ending with this U.S. brokered ceasefire deal.
After so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still.
President Donald Trump now in Egypt for a summit with world leaders about Gaza's future and the next phase of a peace plan. Back here at home, Congressman Adam Smith tells me this is a positive short-term development.
There's a long way to go from here, but just stopping the war is a huge positive, and the return of the hostages.
Are you optimistic that this is truly the end?
Optimistic, that's a hard word to use in that part of the world. I would say cautiously optimistic that the war has finally come to an end, yes.
He tells me now a lot of work still needs to be done to make sure the peace in this region is sustainable and that a future can be built for the Palestinian people. Does some of that work need to be done by the United States?
Absolutely. The U.S. and President Trump have to stay engaged. Certainly it's good that he got involved in the last month or two, made a difference, but it can't stop now.
Congressman Smith tells me he thinks much of the work by the United States will need to be done by President Trump and the rest of the executive branch. He says Congress will play a role by being supportive of the peace process moving forward. In Seattle, I'm Natalie Fahmy, KOMO News.
The way to end this shutdown is really simple. Pass the bipartisan clean funding bill that the House approved weeks ago. The Republicans voted to keep the government open. Call your Democratic senators. They're voting to keep it shut, not us. So when you ask what negotiation, there's nothing to negotiate. We already passed. We said yes, right? Democrats won't do it. They'd rather please their radical base than put America first. Listen, I'm grateful to